6:30, call the meeting to order. Certify compliance with the open records law.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Hayden.
Here.
Councilmember Hooker.
Here.
Councilmember Raisler.
Here.
Councilmember Schofield.
Here.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Here.
All six in favor.
Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's adopted. Next, we have public comments. Are there any public comments? Next, move on to scheduled appearances. We have Maria Nelson from the Pepin County Emergency, or for the Pepin County Director regarding the Pepin County All Hazards Mitigation Plan for 23 to 28. Maria, it's all yours.
All right, so I'm Maria Nelson. I'm the Pepin County Emergency Management Director. Last year, Pepin County received a grant from FEMA to update the hazard mitigation plan that includes all the incorporated communities within Pepin County. The plan was updated from an existing copy by myself and help of a local intern who is Alicia Renhollen. We did all that work over probably last year. We started in March and the plan was deemed to be complete in December. There was a public survey. We did review it during community partner meetings that included city staff members as well as incorporated input we did receive from city staff. We also did review it at public meetings at the county that everyone was invited to attend, including the public. I will note that even though the city has 3 priority goals that are listed in the plan, which include cybersecurity, flood-related infrastructure, and mass casualty, school safety type things, any project that you guys have listed in the plan, you would be potentially eligible in the future for hazard mitigation funds from either the state or FEMA. And one of the things I added to the plan this year, which is probably very useful to you guys, is a potential list of funding sources. So I have a whole bunch of federal programs that could be available, not just necessarily the FEMA ones, but the more recent announcements that the federal government has made about infrastructure and type bills. So the plan's been online on the county website for a while. There's 190 pages, so it's very lengthy, but if anyone had any questions, I can answer them. Or try to.
Any questions? And this is always done every 5 years, correct? Or is it-
Every 5 years, yes.
Because this does the update. Anything else? Other questions, anybody? Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Next, we have the consent agenda. The following matters may be acted upon by the city council utilizing a single vote. Individual items which any member wishes to address in greater detail or as a separate item on the regular agenda may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any council member. We have the minutes from the regular city council meeting from February 8th, 2023. Bartender's license for Michael T. Teagan for Bodie's Saloon, and a picnic license for Pepin County Tavern League Fun Putt Crawl for March 4th, 2023. We're going to move that one, number 3 off, or are we going to discuss?
I was wondering, Mayor, if you want to discuss it under the police departments. You're basically looking for the open container piece, that we can discuss that issue there.
This, to discuss about the issue
Yeah.
with the thing.
Yeah.
So we would just approve this thing, and then we would go from there.
I think that probably works better.
Okay? Okay, so that's the way the consent agenda has been presented. Would somebody like to make a motion concerning?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It is approved. Next, we move on to a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is for a combination Class A liquor and fermented malt beverage license for the Consumers Co-op Oil Company doing business as Consumers Co-op Durand C-Store at 420 2nd Avenue East, Gene M. Ford, agent. So at this point here, I would like to open the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak for or against, or comments to be made concerning this application, the floor is now open. Please identify yourself for the record. Again, calling for any public comments concerning this application for liquor and for malted beverage license. Hearing none, I hereby declare this public hearing closed. Next, we move on to business agenda. Administration, mayor's report. Just a couple of things. Didn't have a lot to report on. Going to mention, it seems like a lot of events are coming together for the community. The Put Crawl, of course, coming up here in March. I've been watching quite a bit. The Fun Fest seems to have a pretty good entertainment lineup, including Chris Cruzy returning for a Saturday night show, which I know a lot of people enjoyed, but it looks like that event's coming together. And of course, we're already filling up for blues spots for the
Opens on Friday.
opens on Friday for people who want to rent camping spots at Tarrant Park. We know it's a very popular item, and that'll be opened up, and everybody have the opportunity to do that. And you're basically doing it online,
Correct.
Yes.
Just like we did last year.
just like we did last year. So if people are interested in those camping spots, that first weekend in August for the blues, that will be coming up. Okay, that's all I've got. Any questions? Okay,
Be a little more-
Yeah.
next we move on to the administrator's report. Administrator Rasmussen.
I don't have much either. I have a couple things I'm gonna chime in on when we talk about both ambulance and police department. I did want to talk to Angie a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna turn the floor over to her regarding the upcoming election. Again, just a reminder to everyone, when the election is, what it's about, and especially for early voting or absentee balloting and things of that nature, so.
The
go ahead.
in-person absentee just opened up yesterday, so anyone that's willing or interested in coming in to do in-person absentee, you can do that as of yesterday. And the election is February 21st, and it's for the Supreme Court Justice, just to narrow down the field. That's all that we have in the city, is just that on the ballot this time.
So there are 4 candidates running for an open seat on those kinds of Supreme Court.
Thank you.
It'll narrow to 2 for the April general election. Okay, any questions on that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Nothing else I'm gonna say. Okay. Okay, next we move discussion, possible action regarding the combination Class A liquor and for malted beverage license for the Consumer Co-op Oil Company doing business as Consumers Co-op, Durand C-Store at 420 2nd Avenue East, Gene M. Ford, agent. Of course, we had the public hearing on it with no input tonight. Basically, as we all know, the convenience store is being sold up here. I believe they're talking the 20th is when of February is when this new license is the day, first day will take effect. And to do that. So basically, they're asking for the exact same license combination that Alcivia had. They're just basically transferring it to the new owners. So
They even have the same agent.
it's even the same person, the same agent. So.
Just the company has changed.
Okay, any questions concerning this? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion concerning the application?
I'll make a motion to approve the application for the Consumer Co-op convenience store.
I'll second it.
We have a motion second to approve the combination Class A liquor and for malt beverage license. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's approved. Next, we have discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2303, adopting the Pepin County All Hazards Mitigation Plan for 2023 to 2028. And of course, this is, as you mentioned, it has been available to view for quite some time. And again, this is just some standard thing, and basically what this does, it puts us on board that we approve it, and as Maria had mentioned, that it qualifies us for, if things come up, we've identified these things, and then obviously, we hope not to need it, but in case something would happen, we would be eligible.
And I guess I could have said this when Maria was here, but I told it to her before. Kudos to her for all the work that she's put in on this. This is really a big deal. And she's helped us a lot. And again, Matt and I walked through it a couple, frankly, not a lot has changed for the city side of things, as she noted. The cybersecurity risks obviously are a bigger deal than maybe they were 5 years ago when they went through this process. But clearly, the flooding issues that we potentially have and the things of that nature, and as the mayor noted, we hope never have to use those, but with Maria's help and some of our other staff, I mean, we are well prepared to qualify for federal funding if and when those things do happen. So again, thanks to her and the rest of the Pepin County staff.
And I'll go ahead, I'll actually read the resolution before it's offered and approved. Whereas the city of Durand recognizes the threat that natural and man-made hazards pose to people and property, and whereas undertaking hazard mitigation actions before disasters occur will reduce the potential for harm to people and property and save taxpayer dollars, and whereas adopted all hazard plans is required as a condition of future grant funding for mitigation projects, whereas the city of Durand is participate jointly in the planning process with Pepin County and other local units of government within the county to prepare multi-hazards mitigation plan, and whereas the public participation in the plan update was encouraged, now therefore be resolved that the city of Durand hereby adopts the Pepin County all hazards mitigation plans for 2023 to 2028 as an official plan adopted this day.
I'll offer resolution 23-3.
It's been offered. Is there a motion?
Make motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Okay, the resolution is on the floor for any further discussion, questions, comments? If not, we'll have a roll call vote on this, please.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Hayden.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
All six in favor. Thank you.
Okay. Resolution is approved. Next, we move on to Public Safety, Police Department. Chief Ridgway.
I just got back this afternoon from the Chiefs Conference, so I appreciate you guys letting me attend that conference. Some different sessions that I attended was a pretty good one by Gordon Durand. He is the owner of Lexipol Policies. He talked about retention and hiring of police officers. We had another session on Waukesha Parade case study where we got to kind of do some lessons learned on their tragedy that they had in Waukesha. Did an afternoon on officer wellness, had some information on civil rights, and then we finished the morning this morning with a good legal update from our attorneys from the Wisconsin Police Chiefs Association. So very good, productive conference, and appreciate you guys always letting me attend that. It's good ongoing learning for one of the chiefs, so thank you. Wanted to talk a little bit, just kind of a plug for one of our part-time officers, Isaac Norman. He's new to our community, he's new to law enforcement, and he's been doing a great job getting out there and being in the public. I stopped at the school on Saturday to drop off some Little League stuff, and he was there. There's a basketball tournament going on, a youth basketball tournament. He was there hanging out. He did some stuff when he worked a day shift with me. He went and ate lunch with the high schoolers and talked to Brandon about coming into the school and stuff that he just did on his own. So appreciate the things that Isaac's doing as a young officer for us. Unfortunately, he got hired full-time in Monrovia. But he's going to stay on part-time with us, and he's going to be an asset for our area. He's a great officer so far, and look forward to hopefully keeping him on part-time as long as we can and having him at least fill some shifts for us now. So, Explorers program, that's going along pretty well. We have our first session on the 19th next week. We've got, I think it's probably 11 or 12. I talked to one parent last week. I'm just not sure if they filled out the paperwork yet, but I'm thinking we've got 12 students that are signed up for it. So we're looking forward to starting that next Sunday, the 19th. And then, unfortunately, Amanda Canfield called me last week also. Amanda, she took maybe a year off or so to concentrate on some Dunn County stuff, but overall she spent almost 14 years working part-time for the city of Durand. She was actually here part-time when I started as chief, so she called me up and said, hey, can I come in and talk to you? And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Yeah. So she unfortunately resigned as well. She said it's just time for her to quit doing law enforcement, and she's a full-time dispatcher with Dunn County, like I said, and obviously they're getting a lot of overtime because of their lack of staff, so she's obviously building on her last 3 years for her retirement, things like that, and just thought it was a good time to stop doing law enforcement altogether, so we unfortunately lost her and wish her the best. She was a great officer to have around in our area. So we're back to a couple part-timers that we have, and we'll keep put out a new hiring process and see who we can get. So that's all I have.
Stan, the two part-timers, how many hours a week do they work average?
It just depends, like when I was gone, Sam McGrain worked for me. And then you have Isaac. Zach finishes his training on Friday. He works with me tomorrow. He'll just be on by himself, but I'll be there to help him if he needs anything and kind of wrap up some of his training. And then his first day will be Friday afternoon by himself. So he's ready to start rolling. We technically, schedule-wise, every Saturday and Sunday day shift is covered by a part-timer, is what we try to get covered by part-timers. Obviously, that isn't working. We're not filling all of those, but we, have a great partner in the sheriff's department that Sergeant Rudd, him and I communicate every month, and I just let him know what we can't fill. But hopefully we can get some more part-timers going. We've got one in the academy right now, so hopefully he can finish school, and he'll be finished this summer, and he'll be able to start working for us in June. But I talked to Isaac and Zach, and I said, hey, any of your classmates from the academy, do they have anybody that doesn't have a job yet? They just couldn't think of anybody that didn't have a job already. A friend of mine that's a chief in Viroqua teaches at Western Technical College in Sparta. He said that they have 14 in their current recruit class, and 10 of those are already hired and sponsored. So you have 4 officers for all of those agencies in the La Crosse area to try to fight over that are already hired. So most agencies are going to the sponsoring them, but as you see with Isaac, we sponsored him, we put in the time, we put in the training, and he worked basically from December 15th to now it's February 8th. So that's what we're getting out of these guys for the time we're putting into it.
Now, if we sponsor them, is there a commitment from them?
There's a 6-month commitment for them, but we don't require any certain amount of hours. So I've been in constant contact with the Mondovi administrator. He's been great. They were like, hey, we don't want to steal this guy from you. Let's work together. So right now, I've been working with him, and they're willing to work around our schedule. If for some reason we need Isaac for an important event, they're willing to change their schedule with us as well. Some of his equipment isn't in, so we're letting him use some of the Durand equipment with the understanding that if something breaks, they gotta refund us. So we've been working with Mondovi. They've been great to work with, and, hopefully they can, Isaac still has the ambition to work some part-time hours for us when he's not working at Mondovi.
The only piece I was gonna add is, so obviously we're a member of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. This month's issue, if you haven't seen it yet, talks about policing. And first one, law enforcement recruitment and retention facing dire challenges in Wisconsin. And I'm sure it's not just Wisconsin, but again, there aren't any magic answers out there, but as the chief noted at the conference, everyone's going through this, and we're all dealing with the same issues. We'll be talking about similar type items in ambulance, especially in the rural areas and the volunteer service. It's tough times all over. Your comment?
Anything else for the chief?
When we do that sponsorship, is it possible to get him for a year, since he's putting that much time into it?
We used to do a year, but I don't think that we could get somebody to commit to a year in this hiring environment. 6 months, these guys could be applying the first day of the academy and have a full-time job waiting for them. So that's why we moved it down to 6 months to at least get something out of them. Even if we don't sponsor them and we just hired somebody who graduated the academy, and we hired them, we don't make them sign any agreement. And we've seen that where they didn't even get off our training program, and we lost them to full-time jobs.
And I know there's been 2 recent times think Winnebago County, and there was another county over in the eastern part of the state that they sponsored somebody with the expectation of, you had to stay with us for so long. They left during that time. The counties tried to go back after them to recoup their costs and ended up losing that in court, saying they couldn't recoup their costs, so. So it's, in the end of the day, it's just kind of honor, it's their honor that they're saying they're gonna do it. And you can't blame them. I mean, to go through that much schooling and then, work part-time isn't really, I don't think any of us would have been able to do that either, so. It's unfortunate.
Okay. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, thank you. Next we move on, discussion of possible action regarding the application for open container from the Pepin County Tavern League for the Fun Putt Crawl on March the 4th, 2023. Two parts of this. First of all, obviously checking with the chief to make sure that everything is ready to go, and then we also have another part that I'll let the city administrator explain where we're at. So, chief?
I don't know if this is what Scott was gonna explain, we should have communicated, but whoever makes this motion, please make it contingent on us having our administrative meeting with the bar owners as well. So whoever
Okay.
decides to make that motion, please add that in there. But, I don't have any issues with this, we didn't have any issues with all of the events that we had last year. I have no problem, basically endorsing that they allow that, you guys allow that, because I think it works out well for us during these events, so. That's all I have.
Any question on that part for the chief? Okay, if you'd like to explain.
Sure, so I'll add a contingency to that as well. So as you note on the front page, so the area they're looking to include, and this is similar to last year, also includes First Avenue from Main Street to 313 First Avenue. I believe that's Mr. Hillstead's address that basically in past years he's had an extension from his brew pub where he basically into the city, and that then legally we can allow that. I guess I put emphasis on the word allow from the standpoint of fair to say Mr. Hillstead has a number of delinquencies out there that frankly if any other bar owner would be applying for a license that per our policy we would deny. And I think that's fair to say, Stan, from the so basically I think it's fair to say at this point, we clearly have to give him the ability to make up these delinquencies in obviously a pretty short period of time. So as the mayor and I have talked over a little bit, I think the recommendation at this point would be, and we also talked with a representative from the Tavern League as well, to give them enough time to say, okay, if we approve this contingent on Mr. Hillstead having his delinquent taxes and utilities paid for by the February the 17th, that would give the Tavern League enough time to make other considerations as well for, I guess for lack of a better term, this additional hole that is sponsored in Mr. Hillstead's place. Does that make sense?
Because even though that he's under a state license, obviously the state of Wisconsin, before they would approve something or want something within our area, they discuss it with us. And this is basically keeping an even playing field for everybody involved.
So basically, it's comes down to whether or not they can go with an open container from First to his house, or from Madison Street to his house, or not.
Correct. And then again, I think then it's incumbent on them in coming up with, I mean, if there's an alternative that, keeps it within the confines, we can still address that at the council meeting on the 22nd to make sure that's, and then they still have a week plus before their event. But at least that gives them a short period to come up with another plan. And again, they're obviously already thinking about it, knowing that this contingency exists. We made that very clear.
So they're kind of expecting that?
They're aware of it, and again, they had a meeting last night, I understand Travis, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you haven't heard anything more about that.
They're well aware.
It just seems kind of weird,
Figured out.
we're putting an expectation kind of for one person that impacts the whole thing, right?
But
If-
they're on the same
yeah.
playing field now that
Right.
every other, because just as much as all license owners have to be to this point before we will give them including all the bars in town. It just puts them on the same.
They were made aware last year.
Yeah,
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 well.
yeah.
So every bar in town has to have their license, has to be.
Everything has to be updated, all,
On whatever date.
Yes.
before we'll hand them.
Before we issue
So
a
I don't
license.
see, this
This is-
doesn't sound like something more punitive or anything like that. We're asking them to abide by the same thing we ask everybody else to abide
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
And again, they were aware, and this is, yeah, that we've been,
Can we ask how much we're talking? I mean, we're talking huge numbers or
we technically don't know exactly.
man?
Well, we do know exactly. Here from the standpoint of it's over 15,000.
Okay.
And again, it's almost all, yeah, all of that is public information.
Because we also require not only your, anything for the business needs to be up to date, but anything for any other properties you own in the city have to be up to date too. Requirement. Okay? Any other questions? So we said the two contingencies, whoever would make the motion that have been requested, if you would, somebody like to make a motion to include those.
Just to be clear, the motion is to approve on the contingency that the meeting is held
The meeting's up.
and that Mr. Hilstead has his business taken care of by the
To extend,
22nd.
to extend it all the way to his property.
But
The discussion I had with the representative from the Taberlink is the 17th would be a good date to,
Yeah,
yeah.
by the 17th.
So then we would all know by the 17th of February if they had to plan for a contingency. Does that make sense? So then, the area as described in here, you're in favor of it with the contingent that yes, those delinquencies are taken care of by the 17th. Otherwise, obviously, that has to change.
And he's aware of this?
My understanding is that the representative from the Taberlink is talking to us. Yeah. Because again, he hasn't come to us to ask for it, it's through,
That's why, to me, this just seems kind of like, I don't want to say slimy by any means, or awkward, that we're kind of using the Tavern League to get him to take care of his stuff with us.
well, it's only because it's through that, again, we.
Yeah,
I get
Yeah.
that, I totally get
It's-
that, I'm not saying I'm disagreeing, it's just like, this is kind of awkward.
And obviously, the reason why it's with this part of the approval instead of the license, because the license is basically for a picnic license for their site that they do at the Masonic.
I'll make the motion that we approve the application for open container for the Tavern League for March 4th, contingent on the administrative meeting being held with the tavern owners and Mr. Hilstead's situation is taken care of by February 17th. That's what you want?
Right, so we say that by end of,
End of business day?
End of business
day.
End of business day, February 17th.
So then do we redo this then if that doesn't happen?
if that doesn't happen, I think we would have to, and they would have
If
to
that's
figure
enough
out.
time.
We can do it on the 22nd.
Yeah, we still do it on the 22nd in the Taberlink.
Lose out time if necessary.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve the open container application with the contingencies. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion's agreed to. Next we move on to the fire department. Chief King was not able to, was there?
Chief
any-
King is still, nothing to report, he'll have his January report at the meeting on the 22nd.
Next one, ambulance report, Director Miller.
Good evening. You have your copies in front of you. Did everyone get a copy of this Wisconsin Rural?
Yeah, they should all have it, yeah.
I think I'll start off with that. If you haven't had a chance to read it, this survey was done towards the end of last year by James Small from the Wisconsin Office of Rural Health, and I participated in the online survey. And the results, as you can see in front of you, are pretty dire. This is obviously specific to the state of Wisconsin, but it is, as I've mentioned in previous meetings, nationwide, it's an issue of hiring and staffing and keeping people on. I think that through the ability for our service to have one EMR and one EMT will eventually help us to, I believe, catch up with staffing and make it at a level where it's better than it is right now. The one thing I would definitely like to see is more of an EMR level throughout the fire department or public works or just any local within the city or response area people that could break away from their jobs, whether it's a mechanic or whatever the case may be. Somebody that works in an office, I don't know. And that is something I would like to see where we could set up some course offerings. A lot of the EMR classes right now are hybrid, so you can take the class online with the exception of the final testing and that type of thing. But so it accommodates your schedule pretty well. And I think if it's promoted through the newspaper and radio station and that type of thing and social media, I would like to think we could get 12 or more people to sign on for the service. So that is a hope of mine.
Reminder again, Mike, of how long that process or how long is the
The
course?
EMR class, I believe, is 40 hours, I believe. I don't know that to be exact, but it's roughly around 40 hours. And it is, if you were to become an EMT basic, that is about halfway through the process of becoming an EMT basic. But as I said, the EMR level, we do have certification here in the city of Durand to run with one EMR and one EMT basic on our ambulance service to qualify as an ambulance that can transport a patient. So we wouldn't be able to have, for example, one EMT and somebody from law enforcement drive us in, or a firefighter who isn't an EMR or an EMT. That wouldn't be acceptable. And another thing is, the EMR level, they're allowed to treat on scene, but they wouldn't be able to be in the back with the patient on the way to the hospital. The EMT basic would have to be in the back and the EMR would have to drive to the hospital. But it still qualifies as a team. So,
EMRs can drive on transfers.
correct.
Is it safe to say, Mike, that the EMR training now is pretty much what the EMTs were getting 20, 30 years?
Absolutely, yes, it
Because
is.
it sounds to me, when I
Yes.
took it, they're getting the same training now, and we could run with two
Sure.
then with that training, and it seems to me, in order to solve this problem, they may have to back down the training to get more people to take it, because people aren't willing
Right.
to spend all that time.
Yes, I agree, and you're exactly right. The amount of training has changed over the years considerably, and it is, compared to back in the day, what the EMR level is now was what the EMT basic level was, 20 years ago. So it has come a long ways, and yeah, I would be very confident myself in having an EMR from our service take care of me, because we do have some EMRs on the service and they are very, very good. So, but again, that is something that we really need to push for and try to accomplish, is getting more people involved, and if nothing else, at the EMR level. That'll help considerably. It really will. So the times where we aren't able to get two EMT basics to take a call during the day when the majority of the people are working, or at home with daycare responsibilities, or whatever the case may be, that may be a situation where, as I was saying, somebody might be able to break away from their job here within the city and help out on a call. So, but that was pretty much what I wanted to say about this. But if you get a chance, truly read it over, and if you have any thoughts or suggestions, please feel free to contact me, and I will do whatever I can to help out in getting recruitment and as much as possible, so. Other than that, the runs for the month are on there. There were 4 911 calls that were missed in January compared to 11 in December, so that is much better. And the only other thing, if you haven't had a chance to read it yet or haven't heard, my announcement of my resignation from the service as the director, effective the end of this month.
Anything else? Any questions for the director? Okay. Again, Mike, we do thank you for your service. Will you be in attendance the next one more meeting for us or not?
I will try to.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have discussion possible action regarding changing the ambulance bylaws regarding response time.
We've talked about this for quite some time. I know, Mike, I think this was one of the first things we talked about when you were hired. And so basically, it's been the long-standing practice that we have a response time for what we deem the in-town, the in-city people of 7 minutes. From the standpoint of the length of time it takes for other agencies to back us up and things of that nature, we've had a request from some of the other folks that are in a 15-minute range. It's basically saying that, hey, we can get there, even if it takes us 15 minutes, it's way better than a secondary source after a second or third page of basically being able to serve and respond to patients' needs. The potentiality of adjusting that to 15 minutes. We've talked internally numerous times, basically to a vote at the ambulance meeting last week, and it was basically a unanimous decision of bumping that to 15 minutes. The other thing that does for us is that does allow, I think it's 4 more people to be, in-city on call and to be eligible for the $5 pay. So that should increase not only our calls, our response to calls, but also our responses on the on-call system, and to basically to sign up for that. So again, at this point, certainly with some of the things that were cited in that report, and when you look at basically that first bullet point of 41% of the EMS services are staffed by 6 or fewer people. Clearly, we have more than that. I mean, we have close to 20 at this point. That's great, but to be real honest, it's being run by about 5-6 staff members. And so if we can get some more on, even the on-call, I think that benefits us. And anything we can do to make more calls, to get as close as we can to 100% of those 911 calls, we're going to continue to try to do. And I think this should help. Will it solve our problem? No. But again, I think it gets us closer. And maybe some of those people that are in it, that maybe they're out there saying, well, I didn't want to participate because I'm not close enough. Maybe some of those people kind of approach us for, at minimum, maybe the EMR.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions concerning the proposal to change the bylaws? Basically, we're saying we're going from 7 to 15.
Basically, yeah. And it's really that simple.
Make a motion to approve the bylaws to read 15 minutes response time.
Second.
Motion second to approve an amendment to the ambulance bylaws to go from 7 minutes to 15-minute response time to be included in what we consider the in-town on-call. Is there any discussion? Any more questions, comments?
I'll ask you.
Yeah, I mean, I think after this, I think you could ask that one. I mean, yeah, it's clearly part of ambulance.
Okay? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion's agreed to. Next, question, another ambulance question?
Well, yeah. Let me kick you out the door, Mike, but what's gonna be the process in hiring a new director? Have we
So,
considered that?
yes, and we did talk about that at the last meeting. Mike made his announcement there, and then, after we were done with the meeting essentially, so I did ask staff to stick around, and we talked about the process we used in the past, and you got, so let me back up a bit before that. So basically, when Mike's done at the end of February, the two officers that we have right now, Jeff Dowdy and Angie Bignall, will assume a co-directorship role, and we're gonna meet hopefully next week to talk about that process a little bit more. So that should, again, that at least keeps us going. But we'll, similar to when Mike was hired, we'll advertise. I don't know if there's anyone internal. Basically both candidates last time were internal. Mike had just started with the department. And we'll see where that goes and go from there. And there'll be some other items I'll discuss maybe a little bit later in the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions concerning ambulance? Okay, move on to Public Works Utilities. I see the engineers in here, but we'll send it over to Superintendent Gillis.
Yes, Russ and I are working on the 12th Avenue East reconstruction. Hopefully we'll have plan sets and everything done by the end of this month and out to bid in March. A couple other things. We're up to the pool today. We're starting to look at ordering parts and pieces for the furnace and a few other things, as there's 5 to 8 week lead times on some of this stuff. So while we're up there, we found there's 4 inches ice on the maintenance room floor. So there's a malfunction somewhere in the curb stop valving outside. I don't know if the valve is leaking yet or not. The pipes are full of water and frozen solid. So it's going to be a little bit closer to spring before we're going to get a better idea as to how much damage, if any, has occurred with that issue. So stay tuned with that. I did tell the furnace people to get me hard concrete pricing and lead time, so that we can, if we can get through this water issue, we can get that stuff ordered so that it's here by the time we want to fire out. So some unfortunate news on that front. Down at the wastewater treatment plant, we had our service techs in today to fix one of our lift stations down there. Some floats and telemetric stuff in that lift station malfunction. So for those of you who maybe south of town today, saw a crane truck down there, little service truck down there doing some work on the lift station down there, which is up and running early this afternoon. The GNR's informed me they're coming to town next week for, it's called the sanitary survey inspection of the water department, where we basically dive through the water department with a fine-tooth comb, all of our records and our maintenance and inspection of all the buildings. So he'll be here next Thursday to conduct that inspection. So I'm not anticipating any issues that I can foresee. Other than that, things are routine.
Any other questions for Public Utilities, or, Public Works and Utilities? Okay. Next, we'll move on to discussion possible action regarding the purchase of a front-end loader originally approved in the 2022 budget. We'll have Superintendent Gillis sort of talk about what he did as far as bidding this out. Then we'll have the city administrator talk about the financial end, and then we'll have Public Works Chair Schofield talk about it. Did go in front of the Public Works Committee prior to this one. So, Mr. Gillis, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, so if you can remember, 2022, we talked about purchasing a new loader, new plow for that loader, and potentially replacing the snow blower. We decided not to do anything last year as the snow blower was kind of driving, the driving force as to what type of loader we could get if we stayed with the engine-driven style that we have, or we switched to a hydraulic type of a blower. Through last year and into this year, we've kind of decided to keep the blower that we have and try and get that to last. I'm not gonna sit here and say 5 or 10 or 2, but we're gonna hopefully we can get another 5 years out of that, 3 to 5 years out of that blower. We only put about 20 hours on that a year. Last year we put 12 hours on it, so we feel, talking with some distributors, that we still got parts for it. There's not a whole lot wrong with it right now. We've done maintenance over the years too, changed out bearings and sprockets and chains and augers and stuff, so we feel that we can keep that a little bit longer than its scheduled replacement program. So then that opened us up to pricing out for new loaders. We have a 924H downstairs right now. It's a Caterpillar. They don't make that model anymore. That comparable model is a 926M. So basically we used that model, and then we put our upgrades that we need on it, Snow Plus tires, some LED lighting packages, and a few other things like that. We took that base model and then went out and got quotes from John Deere and Komatsu. Talked to Case, but got nothing back from them. So for the quotes in front of you tonight, you see a Fabian Cat for the 926M, 219.6 price, 86.5 trade for 133.1 out the door. McCoy Construction John Deere out the door at 160, 744, and Rolling Machine out the door for 151,000. So with the trade, one thing that we will do is that is the guaranteed trade that we will get from that company. We are going to put it on Wisconsin Surplus about a month before the scheduled delivery date of the new one to see if we can garnish more money. We'll put a reserve on it for that 86.5 and see if we can actually get more money out of it than that 86.5. So if any questions, my recommendation is to replace our current loader with that 926M for $133,100.
Could you quickly explain with the 930M, and the reason why it's there, but then why the recommendation is to go with the 926M?
So the reason why there's two here for Cat, the 926M and the 930M, the 930M is the loader that has the, if you wanted to go with a hydraulic driven snow blower, you need, they say 45 GPM of hydraulic flow. The 926 has 40, can run it. The 930 has 50. So we went out and put a bid out for that 50 GPM of hydraulic capacity in case we potentially wanted to buy a hydraulic blower. Now with pushing the purchase of that blower out about 5 years, I feel at that 5-year time we can reevaluate that loader, and for a roughly a $23,000 savings, I think we should stick with the 40 GPM blower. That can run that, you just lose a little bit more efficiency if you went that route.
Okay, and this was something, again, that was a budgeted item, and again, we've sort of moved it around from year to year. Mr. Rasmussen, if you could explain how this all fits into the budget.
Yeah, and I just want to point out too, back to the 2022 when we first put this on, I mean, again, kudos to Matt and his crew for researching this, and it's not, hey, it's up to buy, so let's just buy them. Again, due diligence and looking out for the taxpayers' dollars and determining that, no, we're going to keep that blower working for a few more years, and again, not a lot of hours on it. Typically, it's just used for downtown snow removal. So from that standpoint, we transitioned in this year's budget, we put aside $340,000 for a loader and blower, again, for pushing that back. But we had $200,000 for the loader, so the $133,100 obviously is a very good price. If you tack on the $40,000 plow that we bought last year, the plow scoop, I guess for lack of a better term as well, the combined price is we're still almost $30,000 less than what the cost of the loader that we anticipated. So budgetarily, we're in good shape as well. So again, I concur with Matt's recommendation to go with the Fabricat. Clearly, it's been a good, reliable machine and a good company to work with.
And also we were saying, talk a little bit about if, once approval is made, about delivery time.
Estimated delivery time is August, September currently.
Plenty of time for the next snow season.
Correct. And as we said, this is used more heavily, obviously, during snow season. But obviously, it's a year-round loader that we do use for other projects throughout the year.
Yeah, we put most of we're more mileage than hours because we're driving around town plowing snow. A lot of the stuff goes by hours, but this loader gets used almost daily in the winter months between moving snow and salt and sand and product around in the winter. But it does get utilized quite a bit in the summer months if we were to have a project big enough where we needed to use a loader, or when we need to haul dirt from one end of town to the other end of town, or load of rock. We have stockpiles down the road sewer plant that we may need to move around or load up a dump truck at any given time. As well as pallet forks. You know, in the summertime we do a lot of lifting with the pallet forks, loading and unloading things out of the back of our trucks.
And this went in front of Public Works earlier this evening.
Yeah, Public Works considered all loaders and Matt's discussion on them. And our recommendation from Public Works was to recommend to the full council that we purchase the 926M for $133,100 trade price.
Okay. Any questions? Do appreciate the staff to do due diligence to make sure we have the bids and all of the reasoning behind everything and where we're at. If no other questions, would somebody like to make a motion concerning this issue?
I'll make the motion that we purchase the 926M at a price of $133,100.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the purchase of the 926M. Any more discussion? Comments, questions, concerns? If not, we'll take a roll call, please.
Councilmember Hayden.
Yes.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
All 6 in favor.
Next, we'll have a closed session. The council will convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 1985 1C and Wisconsin State Statute 9.82 1.